it's like, man, dude lost to a good fighter. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? But Floyd, he left with an unblemished record, and he set the bar high.
Floyd Mayweather, the undefeated legend, recently called Terence Crawford the best fighter on the planet. A bold claim that Crawford deeply appreciated and didn't hesitate to return in his recent interview. Meanwhile, promoter Oscar De La Hoya remains skeptical about Terence Crawford's chances against Canelo Alvarez, emphasizing that size matters in boxing. According to him, a good smaller fighter has never beaten a good bigger fighter in history. He doesn't believe Crawford will be the one to break that pattern. He acknowledged that Manny Pacquiao beating him was an exception, but that was different since he was past his prime. In his view, Canelo's size, power, and dominance at super middleweight make this fight extremely difficult for Crawford.
I've been in this game for such a long time, and I like to say I'm a historian. There's never been a good little man that beats a good big man. It hasn't happened. I mean, the exception is maybe Pacquiao beating me, but that situation and scenario was like totally different. I was at the end of my career, and I was a shot fighter, and Pacquiao was coming up and he beat me. But a good little man, which would be Crawford, just has never beat a good big man, which would be Canelo. In the history of the sport, it just now, if Crawford can do it.
Despite his doubts, De La Hoya believes the challenge itself might serve as motivation for Crawford. Beating Canelo would cement Crawford's status as one of the greatest fighters ever. However, he stressed that the weight and power disparity will be a major factor. According to him, Canelo will likely weigh around 200 pounds on fight night, making it even harder for Crawford.
Jesus Lord, I mean, give this man, the title of being the greatest ever, you know? And that's probably the motivation for Crawford. That's probably the motivation for his camp, for his, for his corner, for his trainer, is that, look, if you beat Canelo, you can go down as one of the historical best fighters ever on the planet. That's enough motivation for any fighter. So, but I just don't see it as a fighter. I just don't see it. I mean, Canelo is a big puncher. He walks on quicksand, and that's one thing that Crawford can use against him. But the pressure of the heavier guy, Canelo will be 200 pounds up in that ring. So it's a tough fight. But look, I give all the credit to Crawford. If he pulls that one off, Jesus, he'll be the messiah of boxing, of fighters.
The anticipated showdown is reportedly set for September, creating one of the biggest matchups in boxing. As a 4-division world champion, Crawford has proven himself repeatedly, but in this fight, he is seen as the underdog. Canelo's experience at higher weight classes and his global reputation contribute to the belief that he holds the advantage going into this bout. Strength coach Rob Acosta also has concerns about Crawford's move to 168 pounds, particularly the physical demands of such a jump. He pointed out that Crawford is skipping the middleweight division entirely, which makes the transition even more challenging. In his opinion, even if Crawford walks around at 180 pounds, making weight and performing at an elite level in a heavier division is a serious test.
Come from 140, 147, 154, he's going to skip 60 and go straight to 68. So let's just say Crawford walks around 180. Okay. Walks around 180, he's going to come down those 12 pounds, make it 68. He ate his way up to 180. Understand that. He didn't work out his way up to 180.
He emphasized that the final weeks of training camp are crucial, where even small mistakes can have major consequences. While Crawford handled the move from 147 to 154 well, Acosta believes 168 is a completely different challenge.
That's the difference. So if you're just going to eat your way up to a heavier weight, assuming because you sparred heavier guys that you can perform at a top level against a guy who's been there numerous times, very comfortable with this weight, and coming down from a heavier weight, that's a whole different animal. We're talking, the last 2 weeks of every camp is always the most critical time, because that's where the most dumbest things can go wrong. It could be weight, it could be sickness, it could be injury, it could be anything. So I understand how they can all work together to create this like this super fighter. But it's super hard to come from 154 all the way to 68 within a specific time frame and perform as if you were at 147, 140, 147, 154.
Beyond just weight, Acosta also questioned whether Crawford could withstand Canelo's power. He pointed out that Canelo has taken shots from Gennady Golovkin, one of boxing's hardest punchers. In his view, it's unrealistic to think Crawford can simply move up and impose his will on Canelo. He also raised concerns about how much weight Crawford would regain after the weigh-in. According to him, handling the physicality of a true super middleweight like Canelo will be one of Crawford's toughest obstacles.
Also gave him some good shots. He took it well. What you think is going to happen at 168? Canelo's been hit by Triple G, one of the hardest punches in boxing. You mean to tell me that Crawford's going to go up there and just clean him out? Nah, that's not happening. So it's a lot harder. But I just think that if he goes from 54, skips 60, goes to 68, then steps on the scale, he comes in under. So let's just say he comes in 65. Then he hydrates to what? What's he going to hydrate to? 175? 160, 178? You walk around in that weight.
David Benavidez shared a similar viewpoint, discussing the fight in an interview with Jake Paul. While he respects Crawford's skill and high boxing IQ, he emphasized the significant weight difference as a major concern. He admitted that he wouldn't be surprised if Crawford won, but also wouldn't be shocked if he lost. In his opinion, Crawford didn't look particularly strong at 154, and now he's making an even bigger jump. Given the circumstances, he sees this as one of the riskiest fights of Crawford's career.
And then Crawford, obviously Crawford's amazing, but
he's coming up from 2 weight classes.
30-pound, 20-pound difference. Who do you think wins that fight, though?
To be honest with you, it's like I wouldn't be surprised if Crawford wins, but I wouldn't be surprised if he loses either. I think Crawford is a tremendous fighter. He has a great IQ in boxing, but I think, just the weight difference is just too massive. And, not to knock Crawford off, but, he didn't really look as strong at 154. So he's still going to go up 2 weight classes, 160 and 168. So, I mean, I think that just tells everything that needs to be said.
Ryan Garcia echoed similar concerns, stating outright that he doesn't see Crawford defeating Canelo. He pointed out that Crawford didn't look physically dominant against Israel Madrimov, who isn't even as big or strong as Canelo. According to him, Canelo has mastered his style and knows how to control fights.
He can't beat Canelo. Nah, no way. I mean, I don't see him beating Canelo. He didn't even look that strong against Madrimov, to be honest. And Madrimov's not even a big.
Yeah, different style though. Madrimov has a jerky
different style, yeah, but
in and out, count him, punching, hard to time.
The thing with Canelo is he's mastered his style, and he ain't gonna change it up. But he's mastered it. Like he understands what's going on in the ring at all times. I just don't see Terence beating him. I don't.
Boxing legend Juan Manuel Marquez also voiced his concerns, stating that he doesn't like the fight for Crawford. He acknowledged Crawford's skills, but emphasized the importance of weight classes in boxing. According to him, Crawford was effective at super lightweight, welterweight, and super welterweight, but moving up 2 more divisions is a completely different challenge.
Canelo Alvarez linked it with Terence Crawford. They're probably going to get together in September. How do you see that fight going?
I don't like the fight because Terence Crawford is a good fighter, but in the sport of boxing, it has divisions. You know what I mean?
Right, weight classes.
You know what?
Right?
Yeah, weight classes
for a reason.
Weight classes and Terence Crawford is a good fighter in super lightweight, welterweight, super welterweight, but I think more. I remember when Terence Crawford fought with Madrimov.
Yes.
He looks slow. He looks with no power. And 3 more divisions, 2 more divisions. I think it's a top fight for Terence Crawford, but Terence Crawford is a great fighter. He has a great defense. He has a good combination punches, but I think the weight class is no good for him.
Keith Thurman knows what it takes to beat Canelo Alvarez, but he also acknowledges the challenge. It takes a special kind of athlete to beat Canelo Alvarez. It always has and always will, he said. However, Thurman believes Terence Crawford has the skills and hunger to make history. I know a lot of people are quick to count him out, but just as many know better than to do that, he said. Still, Thurman didn't make a prediction, only reminding everyone, if you're not in the ring, just sit back and enjoy the fight. Tim Bradley sees a major risk for Crawford in this fight, particularly because of Canelo's relentless fighting style. He is concerned about Crawford's tendency to stand his ground, fearing that trading punches with a naturally stronger fighter could be dangerous. To him, the biggest issue isn't just skill, it's the physicality and experience Canelo has built over years at this weight. Bradley worries that Crawford, despite his strength, might engage in exchanges he doesn't need to. That could shift the fight in Canelo's favor.
Terence is just, that's his mentality. It's tough. A little bit of me moving forward. That's what scares me about the Canelo fight, to be honest with you. Because
he ain't gonna back down. He ain't gonna back down.
No,
not.
He's not gonna back. And he's tough. And that's what scares me about that fight, because you don't need to be trading with that bull. Like, I know you're strong, but that dude is naturally strong, and he's been at his weight class for a very long time. So he's acclimated. You don't need to be trading with this guy at all, regardless of the fight is going.
However, Michaela Mayer has a different perspective, believing Crawford won't try to grow into Canelo's weight class physically. Instead, she sees him relying on intelligence, technique, and natural boxing ability to counter Canelo's power. She acknowledges that Canelo will be the bigger and stronger fighter. However, she believes Crawford's ability to think ahead and adjust inside the ring makes him dangerous. Mayer sees him as one of the best boxers in the world.
I don't think Crawford is planning to really grow into that weight class. Right? He knows that Canelo is gonna be the stronger, bigger fighter. He's gonna use his ring IQ, his smarts, his boxing ability, that he's a genius at. I think he's the best boxer in the world, up there, one of the best, right? So if anyone can do it, it's Terence Crawford, with the ring IQ and the skill.
When asked how the fight could unfold, Mayer points to Crawford's movement and unpredictability as key factors. She expects him to avoid direct exchanges and instead focus on using his ability to switch stances and disrupt Canelo's rhythm. According to her, Canelo thrives when he can sit down on his punches, and Crawford's strategy will be to prevent that from happening.
Terence knows he's not gonna sit in there and bang with Canelo. I don't think that's a good idea for anyone to do. And so he's gonna box. He's gonna box, he's gonna use his unorthodox style from, switching back and forth, keeping Canelo, keep him questioning what he's gonna do. And Canelo has to sit. He wants to sit on his shots, right?
Over 10 rounds, she sees the fight remaining competitive, but she acknowledges that a single punch from Canelo could change everything. If the fight goes to the scorecards, she leans toward Crawford, but she is aware that the power and weight difference could make Canelo dangerous at any moment.
And Terence is just gonna not let him do that. He's gonna try to not let him do that over the course of 10 rounds. We'll see. One shot from Canelo could totally change the fight, and that's where Terence has got to be careful. But if it goes to the scorecards, I believe I would have Terence up. I think that Canelo has a chance of knocking him out, obviously, with the weight difference and the way he puts his body behind his shots. But yeah, I'm gonna pull for Crawford to come through.
Former world champion Amir Khan, who has faced both men, weighed in on the matchup as well. He acknowledged that Crawford isn't the type of fighter to sell a fight with trash talk. Some fighters need that flamboyant style and a bit of fun to sell a fight, but Crawford is a straight shooter and doesn't care about the numbers, he told Spinbit. According to Khan, if Crawford had the showmanship of Mayweather or Canelo, he would have made far more money. However, Khan refuses to count Crawford out. Canelo is the superstar going into this fight, but you can't look past Crawford and say Canelo will win this fight easy, he said. Khan also revealed that he sees a path to victory for Crawford. I think Crawford has his number, he stated. Reflecting on his own sparring sessions with Crawford, Khan described him as a big, strong welterweight who was difficult to push away. He is fundamentally a great fighter, but his body structure is very heavy and he hits hard, he added. Khan believes Crawford's freshness gives him an edge, but he admitted, let's see. I could be wrong, but that's how I feel. Moving on, Crawford himself remains remains unfazed by criticism and doubts about his ability to compete at this weight. In a recent interview, he dismissed concerns about size and power, stating that he has been underestimated throughout his career, yet has consistently delivered. He sees this fight as a challenge for both himself and Canelo, not just for him alone. According to Crawford, the narratives questioning his ability are nothing new, and he is prepared to prove himself once again.
I've been doubted my whole career. If you ask anybody that's been following me, they'll all tell you, oh, we didn't, by the media and by all the negative things that people said about Terence Crawford along the way, they would have never thought I'd be in this place that I am now. But I did. So it's funny to say, because I've been hearing this my whole career, that I'm too small for this guy. This guy's too strong, or this guy punches too hard. I don't got no chin, or I'm this, I'm that, So I just suck it all in and just laugh, because those fighters and those people that have this negative thought of Terence Crawford never been in the ring before. So it don't even bother me. Me and Canelo is gonna be a tough fight for both of us, but at the same time, I don't know.
Rather than focusing on outside doubts, Crawford has already set his mindset on victory. When discussing his legacy, he does not entertain the possibility of failure. He insists that when he beats Canelo, he will be recognized as one of the top 3 pound-for-pound fighters in boxing history. For Crawford, this fight is not just about winning a title, it is about securing his place among the sport's all-time greats.
They gravitate to, and that's who they want to win, and when they don't win, they gotta look for an excuse why they didn't win. I wanted to fight Spence, Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, all those top welterweights when I moved in the division.
Porter, Ugas, there was a lot of them.
Well, I wouldn't say Porter, because that wasn't somebody that I was searching for at the time. Ugas wasn't the champion either, but once Ugas became champion, he was definitely a fighter that I wanted to.
Crawford sees this fight as a challenge for both fighters, not just for himself. He embraces that challenge with confidence and refuses to entertain ifs regarding his legacy. He firmly believes that when he defeats Canelo, he will be recognized among the top 3 pound-for-pound fighters in history. His focus is not on whether he can win, but on cementing his place among boxing's greatest. To him, this fight is just another step toward that goal.
I've been doubted my whole career. If you ask anybody that's been following me, they'll all tell you, oh, we didn't, by the media and by all the negative things that people said about Terence Crawford along the way, they would have never thought I'd be in this place that I am now. But I did. So it's funny to say, because I've been hearing this my whole career, that I'm too small for this guy. This guy's too strong, or this guy punches too hard. I don't got no chin, or I'm this, I'm that, So I just suck it all in and just laugh, because those fighters and those people that have this negative thought of Terence Crawford never been in the ring before. So it don't even bother me. Me and Canelo is gonna be a tough fight for both of us, but at the same time, I don't know.
Floyd Mayweather, who famously defeated Canelo in 2013, has also given Crawford high praise. According to him, Crawford is currently the best pound-for-pound fighter in boxing. His views, shared in an interview with Forbes, highlight his belief in Crawford's talent and skill level. Even in a more recent interview, Mayweather reiterated his stance, acknowledging Canelo's greatness, but firmly stating that Crawford is the sport's best fighter right now. He appreciates seeing Crawford in this position and encourages him to continue making history. For Mayweather, Crawford's achievements speak for themselves, and he believes the welterweight champion is proving his greatness with every fight.
Terence Crawford, right now in the sport of boxing, is the pound-for-pound best fighter in the sport of boxing right now. It's good to see him in the position that he's in. I think he has a beautiful family.
Crawford has also shown respect to Mayweather, recently discussing the differences between boxing and MMA. In a conversation with former UFC champions Kamaru Usman and Henry Cejudo, he explained how Mayweather's undefeated record changed modern boxing. Fighters now go to extreme lengths to protect their perfect records, fearing a single loss could damage their careers. In contrast, he noted that UFC fans remain loyal to their favorite fighters despite losses. Crawford believes this has made boxing more cautious, as fighters avoid risky matchups.
The best fights at the right time, and not only that, one thing that I love about UFC is that a guy can lose and still be supported.
Yeah, right.
Nowadays in boxing, Floyd made it to where you lose, like, you know, they kicking you to the curb and all, you's a bum, you this, you that. It's like, man, dude lost to a good fighter, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? But Floyd, he left with an unblemished record, and he set the bar high.
Moving on back to the 13th September fight, Dimitri Bivol also weighed in on this potential fight. Initially, Bivol had doubts about Crawford's ability to compete in higher weight classes. However, after seeing him in person in Dubai, he changed his stance. He noted that Crawford appeared bigger than expected and had the technical skills to challenge larger opponents. While Bivol acknowledged the difficulties of moving up, he believes Crawford has the ability to adjust.
He able to win this fight, but there is a lot of but, and even not but, there is a lot of things, small things, which we don't know how he will deal with this. He need to get used to the power and pressure of 168, because it's big difference, to be honest. Maybe he will get used to it, and how he will be feeling himself.
Bivol also pointed out that fighting at 168 pounds comes with challenges. He explained that adapting to the power and pressure of bigger opponents is not just about skill, it requires adjusting to new physical demands. Facing someone as experienced as Canelo makes the task even harder. That said, Bivol emphasized that Crawford's versatility and unique fighting style could allow him to overcome these obstacles. He believes this fight will be more competitive than some expect.
The same day when he will fighting, how his training camp will go on, a lot of things, but he's able, he has good skills, he's awkward, he can use two boxing stands. It gives him benefits, of course.
I was at that same event in Dubai just before Christmas, and I saw him too, and I thought exactly the same thing, which is that he is quite big.
Yeah.
Size obviously is important. Jamel Charlo stepped up from super welterweight to super middleweight to box Canelo, and it didn't work at all for him. But Crawford is, I mean, he's one of the best fighters in the world, isn't he?
Shakur Stevenson has long believed in Terence Crawford's ability to challenge Canelo Alvarez. Speaking to Ring Magazine, he revealed that even after Crawford's fight with Sean Porter, he predicted that Crawford could give Canelo serious trouble.
Absurd about it. What did you think of this idea of Bud going up to 68 to fight Canelo?
I ain't gonna lie, I've been putting it out since, I want to say, when he fought Sean Porter. Like back then, if you go watch, it's an interview out there. I had said I think that Terence Crawford would beat Canelo Alvarez right after he fought Sean Porter. So the idea, I've been thinking about it. I've been saying it before Bud even was saying it.
This wasn't a new thought for him. He had considered it years before Crawford himself showed interest. Stevenson emphasized that Crawford's dominance in his weight class made him a real threat. Even before Dimitri Bivol exposed Canelo's weaknesses, he believed Crawford's style could be the key to victory.
Why were you saying it then? Like, that was what, a few years ago? Was he 160 or 168 at that point? But why did you believe then that was the right fight?
Because I just knew, like, as far as in that weight class, Terence Crawford is like the greatest. So I just feel as though with Canelo's style and like the style of boxing that he got, I think and this is before Bivol did it, but I thought like Terence Crawford was the only guy who I felt as though could have beat Canelo.
Paulie Malignaggi echoed similar sentiments, comparing Crawford's mentality to Floyd Mayweather's. He described Crawford as an aggressive and determined fighter who thrives on challenges. While acknowledging the size disadvantage, he expressed confidence in Crawford's ability to rise to the occasion. He also suggested that a win for Canelo could help him avoid fighting David Benavidez, a long-avoided mandatory challenger.
He is a guy who's reminds me of Floyd, and that he stays hungry, motivated, and wants to still be the best, has that mean streak in the ring. Not to say that Canelo doesn't have a mean streak, but I feel like once you start punching Canelo a few times in the face, that mean streak ain't so mean anymore. You know what I mean? He punks out a little bit. So while Crawford, I feel like, wants to go for the gusto. That doesn't mean to me that Crawford wins because he's small, but I'm just saying I believe more now that Crawford can win than I did originally when this was first being talked about. And I would love to see Crawford win because I feel like if Canelo gets this payday, which is going to be a big payday, and then also gets the win out of it, it's just too much of a reward for outright ducking Benavidez and being allowed to duck his mandatory contender while holding all the belts hostages at 168 pounds for so long, and not letting that weight class run its course the way it should.
Malignaggi also questioned Canelo's current level of performance. He pointed out that in previous losses, particularly against Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Dimitri Bivol, Canelo did not take risks or push himself when facing adversity. Since the Bivol fight, Malignaggi believes Canelo has lowered the quality of his opponents, raising doubts about whether he is still in his prime.
I was originally thinking Crawford might be too small. I think Crawford is a way more complete fighter than Canelo ever was. I think Crawford is just, the only risk here is Crawford's small. You think about it though, Duran was a former lightweight and he was able to beat Iran Barkley eventually, right? So it's not out of the question. And this Canelo is not the prime Canelo. This Canelo is also a Canelo who's trying to steal bags while half-assing it. He never really took a risk in the Floyd fight once he was outclassed. He just accepted it, like, all right, this guy's outclassing me. With Bivol, it's worse because Bivol, now you're in your prime, and you can't use the excuse that you were inexperienced. You physically saw and mentally saw this guy's better than me, and you made a conscious decision not to take a risk. I'm gonna just go the distance, and I'm gonna be happy to do it. Made a conscious decision. That exposed a lot because ever since then, he lowered his level of opposition tremendously. Okay, so. I look at that and I see, remember what I said about Crawford earlier in this interview.
Crawford himself has also expressed skepticism about Canelo's recent performances. He believes Canelo has been holding back in his last few fights and hasn't shown the same level of intensity. Specifically, he mentioned the fights against Munguia, Berlanga, and Charlo, stating that Canelo seemed less motivated. However, Crawford expects a different version of Canelo if they face each other, especially in a massive stadium with over 70,000 fans.
To get up for those fights that he's been getting up on. I think he held Munguia up. I think he could have did more damage, but the respect that he had for Munguia, he just, really too much didn't want to hurt the kid. I think with Berlanga, it was what it was. He showed a dominant performance against Berlanga, and he just felt like he didn't have to do too much of nothing, And so with Charlo was moving a lot, he won every round, so he really didn't feel the need to go in there and try to just maul him down. But I think, with me, he's gonna be the best Canelo that we've seen yet.
For Crawford, this fight is more than just a challenge. It's a legacy-defining moment. Speaking to Usman and Cejudo, he described it as the biggest fight in boxing today. While some fans may prefer to see Canelo face Benavidez, Crawford believes that the history of African-American versus Mexican rivalries has always produced legendary matchups. Even from Canelo's perspective, this fight could be one of the most important of his career. Despite facing stars like Floyd Mayweather and Gennady Golovkin, he sees a matchup with Crawford as a record-breaking event. He believes it could even surpass the hype of his fight with Mayweather. However, before focusing on Crawford, he remains committed to his upcoming fight against William Skull.
I spoke to Oscar De La Hoya the other day. He said he believes if you don't face David Benavidez, your legacy will be tainted forever. Just your reaction to that?
No, I don't think so. My legacy is my legacy. Nobody can take away my legacy from me. It is what it is.
Final question. You've been involved in some massive fights in your career, the GGG trilogy. Is Crawford the biggest fight because of everything around it, everyone around it, the fact that it might be on Netflix we're hearing as a part of a big deal with TKO?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be bigger. Even the Mayweather fight is gonna be bigger than that.
You think it does more pay-per-view buys than the Mayweather fight?
Yeah, I think so. But you know, first is first. I'm gonna be focused on William School.
Terence Crawford has not only set his sights on his own fight against Canelo Alvarez, but also has ideas for the undercard. According to him, a matchup between Gervonta Davis and Shakur Stevenson would make the event even bigger. While he believes it would be an exciting addition, he acknowledged that Davis might not be willing to take a secondary position on the card.
I'm pretty sure
Shakur and Tank?
Yeah, that would be dope. That would be dope, but you know,
I think that's the day the sports world stops, right?
Yeah.
If we get a super card of that caliber.
If Tank was not so cocky to be on a Terence Crawford undercard, that would be dope. But I don't see Tank taking a backseat to no fighter, because he'll think it's the Tank show. So.
But before Gervonta Davis could weigh in, Shakur Stevenson swiftly rejected the idea of fighting on Crawford's undercard. Taking to X, Stevenson respectfully dismissed the proposal while reinforcing his own fight's significance. Love you, big brother, but nah. I think me and cuz Gervonta Davis fight is the biggest one in the sport, he wrote. Confident in the magnitude of their matchup, he predicted staggering pay-per-view numbers, urging fans to watch what I say, as Crawford prepares to jump 2 weight classes to challenge Canelo Alvarez at super middleweight. His future at 154 pounds remains uncertain. WBO President Gustavo Oliveri confirmed that once the Canelo fight is officially announced, Crawford will relinquish his WBO interim super welterweight title. However, he still holds the WBA super welterweight belt, leaving room for future possibilities. Crawford refuses to single out the best fighter at 154 pounds, instead emphasizing that matchups determine supremacy. It's a lot of great fighters out there, he told Ring Magazine. I don't want to disrespect any of the fighters just by saying one or the other is the best in the division. He noted that styles make fights, and the true best would be determined when top contenders face off. Still, he did not rule out a future showdown, stating, who knows, maybe it will be a possible showdown for Terence Crawford and the winner. For now, Crawford's full focus is on Canelo Alvarez. He acknowledged that while other fights exist, none compare to this challenge. Maybe we do a rematch, or I'll fight someone else, he said, keeping options open. However, he stressed the historical weight of the Canelo fight. To become a 4-weight undisputed champion is crazy. With so much at stake, the anticipation for this fight continues to grow. Crawford's ambition, Canelo's legacy, and the ongoing debates over matchups have created an electrifying atmosphere. Whether it's the super fight itself or the potential undercard, fans are eager to see how it all unfolds. Will Crawford shock the world? And should Stevenson and Davis share the stage? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.